Hey guys, Steve here. Today we got to look at the Alaska Legendary Tier American Super Cruiser. I got Einstein on the screen there. That's the bill I got currently. If you don't have him, I'd probably throw Kincaid in the mix. Helps that turret traverse out quite a bit, which can be an issue on these American heavy cruisers. Here we got a game in Sleeping Giant. It's not necessarily a barn burner game. I think it's a fairly effective Alaska game, and it kind of highlights some keys to the ship. I haven't featured this ship in a video probably since about a week or so, maybe 2 weeks after it came out, which was a different ecosystem back then. Very few legendaries. We got some doubloons from Wargaming to boost our progress, so we got access to the ship very quickly. But with no opposing legendary ships on the horizon, that left us with goofy matchmaking and kind of situations where we were heavily focused. Alaska doesn't do well when it's heavily focused. It can angle, but when you start taking shots in the side, it goes south very quickly. Here we're going to make a fairly standard move. You got to recognize we don't have a destroyer in this sector. We do have one going up to B, which is going to pressure the cap. He's also going to spot the rear line battleship players, which is going to give us some shots. But over here, we need to be playing fairly conservatively. We're going to try and complete a turn here. Always a decent play for most ships. If you can get a turn early in the match, if you get into a position where you're reasonably certain that you're going to get ships in your white ring, your max firing ring on that map, once they start popping up. If you turn too early, of course, then they're going to be outside of that ring, and you're going to be not only unable to shoot, but you're going to have a hard time getting into position to shoot because you're facing the wrong direction. Turning, though, allows you to disengage if things get hot, and because we're kind of the front line ship over here on a wing, it could get hot very quickly. This isn't a ship that we necessarily want to be on the front lines, holding, the furthest reaches of a flank by ourselves, but the situation is what it is. We're going to play it fairly conservatively here. Backing up, we got a guy on C. Now we can reasonably expect that that is their destroyer. We're going to get into position. We do pop the radar, actually, and nothing pops up. Now I'm going to check around and see the distance to those rings. I believe we look at them. That's usually a good idea to do before you pop the radar, but I guess the destroyer was probably just on the outer reaches of the radar. Anyway, he gets away with that. For some reason, he gets off of C, so I don't know exactly what's going through the mind there. Wichita, we're going to take some shots into him, and the damage is coming. One of the keys to the ship, like I was kind of alluding to right off the bat, AP. I don't even know if we shoot a single HE salvo in this game, but AP, I mean, this is a rule of thumb for all ships across the board, but when you got the shots and they're effective with the AP, use the AP. We got just shy of 10k damage with these shells, which is battleship-esque damage. So you got to understand those icons, the hit icons. Penetration, shatter, over-penetration, ricochet from left to right. Those are the results. Hopefully you understand what those mean. That will allow you to gauge the AP's performance. Judge what those shells are doing. As long as they're causing damage, and potentially big damage, you want to stick with those shells. I mentioned we probably won't see much, if any, HE this game. Doesn't mean you never want to use it. If you get into these situations where the AP is not dealing damage, they're angled, they're protecting themselves well, go ahead and switch to that HE. The HE is actually quite effective. You got a 27% fire chance, very high for a cruiser, 4,300 damage, again, very high for a cruiser. Combine that with the slow reload, 16.7, that's a little bit of the reason why it gets that boost. Wichita's coming around here, and we got the AP loaded for this guy. Now we're just we angle steeply, looking at that diagram on the bottom there, protecting ourselves first and foremost. He comes around broadside. We're going to introduce him to the concept of angling by way of blasting him down for half of his health there. And that's what we're talking about. The AP is brutal on this thing. So if you can get those shots in and they're effective, keep the AP going. Again, if it's not working, you got to be... That's a little bit of a problem with the ship, is you can get a little too pig-headed and kind of mentally refuse to switch the shell just because you're like, man, that's some juicy damage. But you're going to find yourself in some situations where it's not working. Broadside, 45-degree angle Wichitas, that's not one of those situations. It will work in that instance, and it will cause havoc for that guy. Other key to this ship is we want to be looking for flanking opportunities, and we're going to be doing that now. We're evaluating the map at this point in the game, seeing that we got a big gravitational ball just directly to the east of us, and then their team, much more spread out, but not really controlling the map very well. They're kind of backline Betties this game. That's going to allow us to push into B. We've already secured that, but we want to push in. If we can kill that Wichita, great. That's, kind of goal number one by moving forward here. But they basically only have one ship, on this half of the map besides the Wichita who's about to go down. It's that battleship, God knows what it is. It's parked on the moon out there. So that guy's effectively not playing the game. He might as well just put the controller down and just retire because he's having no effect whatsoever. Maybe that's a little hyperbolic. He probably has shots at that dude coming around the A-cap. Hopefully. I hope he's not completely out of range. But anyway, in terms of affecting the match, no, that's not an effective position. You're controlling the map, yes, but you're controlling the nether reaches of the map, which have no impact on the win or loss factor of the game. Wichita does pop back up here. We're going to go ahead and swing the guns around. Rather than turning the ship, I want to remain angled to this fleet, which is mainly to the northeast there. So you can see on the map we continue to be pointed at those guys. Not sure where they are. The Wichita, of course, can damage us, and he can do some pretty decent damage there. But these Iowas, these Yamatos over here, these other battleships where we're not sure where they are, but we know roughly where they are, we don't want them tickling us in the side. So that's why we just elected to swing those guns over, take the shot, reposition them. Now evaluating here, we got at least one battleship on sea. Potentially the destroyer too. I'm kind of thinking the destroyer is over here. Eventually we'll see some torps, which suggest he is located elsewhere. But as of right now, I'm thinking pretty decent chance that he's on this cap with C. We're going to move in here. We're going to see some close range dueling with the Alaska. This ship is pretty good in most situations when you get into these close range kind of duels where you're nose in on them. We do have, I believe it's the same armor as the Edinburgh, so very durable for a cruiser. As long as we're angled at these guys and they're hitting us in the hull, they're going to have a hard time dealing that damage. The Yamato doesn't have that issue with us. In fact, he's going to take a couple swipes at us, see if he can take us off the board here. Not a lot we can really do about that, but he's low enough that I'm thinking, due to our abundance of HP and his dearth of HP, we're thinking we can probably win a little slugfest here, even if he's going to be hitting us much harder. We go ahead and tap him right on the nose there just to see if he's paying attention. I was hoping he was going to poke forward and we'd actually catch him right in that citadel, which you can catch in that cheek area of the Yamato. But he pops around there. Iowa, you see we angle right at him. Catches us for a little bit of damage here and there. Nothing catastrophic, though. Speaking of catastrophic, though, Alaska guns, point-blank range into that Iowa right onto those turrets. Rip him for roughly 40% of his health. So that was a juicy salvo on that guy. One that he will not soon forget. And now we're going to go ahead and aim at those turrets. He's basically dead in the water. Easy shot. And we remove one of them. We damage them. Either he used his damage con previously, in which case that turret is still disabled, or he was forced to use it there. That's going to give these battleships and their secondaries opportunities to set him on fire. Going to go ahead and aim for the same shot there. Let's go ahead and see if we can permanently remove these guns from the fight. And that's the beauty of these shots at the turret. A lot of times if you miss the turret, you'll catch the superstructure right behind it and you'll get them for that 3, 4, 5,000 type of damage. So that's kind of consolation prize damage. Good enough to warrant the shot anyways, but if you can combine that type of damage with those turrets getting knocked out periodically, that's a good brawling technique. So nose in, shooting that Iowa's turrets, you really had no chance there, even though we had good support from our team, which helped us resolve that fight much quicker. We probably would have won that close range duel if left to our own devices. So there's the torps that we were talking about. That kind of tells us that he's not over here. We, up until this point, weren't really sure where that destroyer was. We actually popped that radar earlier, which spotted the Yamato, spotted the Iowa, but I was hoping to get that destroyer in that range as well. He wasn't there, though. but you can see we're kind of in garbage time with this game. Evaluating the flow of the game, though, again, we were basically looking for that move where we were covering the right side of the map, the eastern side, and once we saw the opportunity to advance up the center of the map and kind of get in position to flank these guys, that's when we really started to get into effective positions. These guys, horrible map positioning. I mean, maybe they've been chased all the way over there due to the circumstances of the game. Maybe not. But no matter what happens over there, they're not contributing to the game. The one ship on their team that is potentially doing something is the destroyer. There he pops up on the map. And we're going to go ahead and target him now. He's going to take a shot from someone down there, whatever that battleship is, I think. We discharge our load at the curve first of all. And then I'm thinking, all right, let's flip the guns back. So we lock them kind of back, and then we're going to turn hard into this thing. We got AP loading in. That's perfectly fine. Again, imagine these as battleship guns. Overpens galore, but they're roughly 1,000 per overpen, so juicy damage when we hit these destroyers. This is going to be no exception. It's going to take him off the board and end the game as it combines with another kill for a mercy win there. So that's a look at the Alaska for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. Love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. Peace.